Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. If you're noticing the change of scenery from our normal studio here, it's because I am in New Orleans helping Chat Sports' coverage of Super Bowl 59 throughout the week. So we're going to have a bunch of great Steelers content coming to you from Radio Row from Tuesday through Thursday, all culminating where I'm going to be calling the game Super Bowl 59 between the Chiefs and Eagles on our main Chat Sports channel, so make sure you go give that a follow as well. But on today's show here on Steelers Talk, the Browns just got some terrible news today. If you're watching the show, I'm guessing you know what that terrible news is, but we'll break that down. Then second up on today's show, in the second half, we'll react to 3 new NFL mock drafts that have dropped and who they have the Steelers taking in round 1 of the 2025 NFL draft after the Senior Bowl was held last weekend. Before we get into the content today, make sure you go give me a follow on X. I'm going to be putting out a bunch of clips from our interviews and all this stuff from Radio Row throughout the week. I'm also putting out a bunch of NFL draft content on there all throughout the offseason. Plus, we also have that extensive Steelers coverage for you guys to enjoy on my Twitter. So you can find me at Jack_Sperry. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. So let's get into the hilarious story today, guys, that the Cleveland Browns, all right, of course the Browns are going to Brown, and it all came to a head today when superstar edge rusher Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year candidate, perennial Pro Bowler, all-pro type of talent, has now requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. And as a Steelers fan, this makes me happy. I am absolutely loving this and seeing Browns fans absolutely crumble on Twitter today. It's absolutely fantastic. All I was told this past year, guys, was that they were going to dominate the division, that Deshaun Watson was going to lead them to their first Super Bowl right here in New Orleans. And guess what? They were once again parked in the basement of the AFC North. And now because of that, they're most likely going to be losing their best player on their entire roster and arguably the best defensive player in the world. But I think we all know TJ Watt holds that title. And listen, man, I think that Cleveland is going to try and do everything that they can to try and keep Myles Garrett. I think that he's just too good of a player to simply just be okay trading. Now, if Garrett makes their life a living hell this offseason, which he does have the power to do, then yeah, they'll probably end up trading him. But even Mike Garafolo on the Insiders today said that the official statement from the Browns is the same thing that they said last week, which was that they're not trading Myles Garrett. They don't care if he's officially requesting a trade. Garafolo said earlier today they are sticking to their stance and do not intend to have any conversations about trading Myles Garrett. And I think what this is going to come down to, guys, is just how convinced Myles Garrett is that he needs to go elsewhere. Maybe the Cleveland Browns approach him with more money, a new contract, make him the highest paid defender in the history of the National Football League, and maybe that fixes things a little bit. Maybe they go to him and say, hey, you want some influence on who we take at number 2 overall in the NFL draft this year? Maybe he'll be okay with that. You know, they're going to offer him a lot to try and keep him in Cleveland because he is such a good defensive player. But, you know, at the end of the day here, it does seem like Myles has put a lot of thought into this, and he wants to go to a team that legitimately can compete for a title. I think we all know as Steelers fans, that is not the Cleveland Browns football franchise. Now, before you ask here, guys, no, he's not going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. It's just not going to happen. Even if Cleveland does trade him away, they're not going to trade him to within the division, let alone to the Pittsburgh Steelers, their arch rivals. And honestly, I'd be surprised if they traded him within the same conference. I think that they would want to send him to the NFC, to a team that they don't really have to play all that often. And I think that's probably the way it's going to go. So no matter what the Steelers end up offering Cleveland, I just don't think that that's going to be something that Cleveland wants to do. And also, I'm not sure if that's something Pittsburgh wants to do. They're probably going to be given an extension to TJ Watt this offseason, and they're already paying Alex Highsmith a pretty large contract as well. And they like their third rotational guy in Nick Herbig as well. So no, this is not a realistic possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So please, please, please do not ask me about Myles Garrett to Pittsburgh. So let me know down there in the comment section, what is your one-word reaction to the Myles Garrett news? What was your one-word reaction when you heard the news this morning? Let me know down there in the comment section. Can't wait to see some of those reactions for today's pinned comment. I'm going to be breaking down our sponsor today at Game Time here in just a second. While I'm talking about Game Time, get down there in the comment section, find that pinned comment, and answer today's pinned question. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Game Time, which is the best place for you to buy tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. All you have to do is select the Game Time Picks button at the top of the screen when you click into an event you want to go see, and Game Time automatically filters through their entire database to find you the best tickets at the best prices with the best views, so you and your family can get the best possible deals on any ticket you get to any live event. What I love about using the Game Time app, guys, and why it's the only ticketing app I have on my phone right now, is you get the lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event. All-in pricing so you don't get slapped with the crazy fee at checkout, and flash deals so you can get even cheaper tickets the closer you wait to game time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So now we've got the Myles Garrett news out of the way. Let's talk about the latest mock drafts that have hit the NFL presses after the Senior Bowl was held this past weekend. We'll start with Lance Zierlein from NFL Network, one of the most respected NFL draft analysts anywhere in NFL draft media, and he has the Steelers taking Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas, with their first overall pick in this year's NFL draft at number 21 overall. And I've talked about Golden on the show before, guys. He is an extremely explosive wide receiver who's a great route runner, fantastic after the catch, can take the top off of a defense. If the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for a true Z receiver that can really do it all from that position, I think that Matthew Golden is going to be somebody that they're going to be looking at big time. Now, he's not quite as good of a run blocker as, say, like a Jack Besh is, or say like an Emeka Egbuka is, but I think that Golden is exactly the type of playmaker that the Steelers offense desperately needs at the wide receiver position. So if the Steelers ended up with Matthew Golden with their first pick in this year's draft, I would be elated with that pick. Then with Pro Football Focus here, they have the Steelers taking Azariah Thomas, cornerback out of Florida State, in the first round, and then wide receiver out of Miami, Florida, Xavier Restrepo. Now, my thoughts on this mock draft, guys, is that you guys know in my first mock draft that I released just a couple of days ago, I have the Steelers taking Azariah Thomas in round 3, all right, which is closer to where PFF currently has their big board. But the person that ended up making this particular mock draft is higher on Azariah Thomas, most likely because he did have a pretty decent week at the Senior Bowl, because he does have those long levers, those long arms, and he's extremely physical in press coverage, which is what the Steelers like to run. So I can see why they have him going in round 1. But honestly, I think that's a little bit of a reach. I think you could probably get him in round 2, and if you're lucky, you can get him in round 3. But then Xavier Restrepo is a name in round 2 that, let's say the Steelers don't take a wide receiver in round 1. I think Restrepo is the type of guy that you can absolutely look at here as somebody the Steelers could potentially be interested in as a slot technician. I think what he showed at the Senior Bowl this week is that he's a really, really good route runner from the slot. He gets open, and he runs very crisp routes. He had a really, really good season playing with Cam Ward there with the Florida Hurricane, or Miami Hurricanes, I should say. And I think that he was somebody that really did a good job as a whole of showcasing his skill set heading into the 2025 NFL draft. And then the final mock draft that we'll be talking about today, it comes from ESPN's Matt Miller, who has the Steelers taking wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka, with their first round selection, and then in round 2, taking his teammate there with the national champion Buckeyes and Quinshon Judkins, the running back. All right, so pretty much Matt Miller is saying Pittsburgh needs to get their offense in order here. I'm going to get 2 players from the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we're going to have it be that way in terms of how this offense is going to be built. And listen, man, if you're going to emulate your offense and steal 2 players from a certain team in college football, why not the Ohio State Buckeyes? Because Emeka Egbuka, we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, great run blocker, really good route running technician, especially from the slot. He's great after the catch, all these different things. And honestly, he reminds me a little bit of another Ohio State receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba. But then Quinshon Judkins, the running back in round 2, is another pick that really intrigues me here, guys, because of his physical profile. Now, maybe he doesn't have quite the numbers as some of the other guys in this draft class do, like Ashton Jeanty or Cam Scadaboo or anything like that. But Judkins is bigger, and he's got the 4.4 speed, and he's got that combination of size and speed that the Pittsburgh Steelers could potentially be looking for in their future number 1 running back. So Judkins is definitely a guy that I would be happy with if the Steelers ended up getting. But honestly, guys, there's like 10 different running backs in this class that I would be fine with the Steelers drafting in the first 2 rounds of the draft this year. You guys know I'm in favor of going wide receiver round 1 and then running back in round 2, so I like the formulation here from ESPN's Matt Miller. So who had the best first-round pick out of the 3 mock drafts that we talked about today? Type AT for Azariah Thomas, type MG for Matthew Golden, or type EE for Emeka Egbuka. Let me know between these 3 guys which one is the best fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked a lot about mock drafts today, guys. I put out my first 7-round Steelers mock draft just a couple of days ago. I'll put the link to that one in the comments and description of today's show and put the chip in the top right of the screen so you guys can check that out right at the end of today's program. And I really do appreciate you guys making it to the end of today's show, guys. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you guys for all the support that you give to us here at Chat Sports and here at Steelers Talk. And until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.